Welcome to the Cover Letter Workshop. My name is Jesse Preston. I'm an employment specialist. Shout out to our host, Works4You Employment. Let's get started. In today's Cover Letter Workshop, we're going to talk about employers and cover letters. We're going to talk about why stories. We're going to go over 2 cover letter models. We're going to talk about customizing your letter and then go over things like editing and tips. Just a note that all the stories in this presentation are real stories from real people, but we've changed the names and the details. Enjoy. So the first thing we have to ask ourselves is, why cover letters? Well, cover letters is what brings your resume to life. It is a great way for you to differentiate yourself. It shows your understanding of the role and the company you're applying for. Many recruiters will just skip resumes that don't have a cover letter. Many people also don't write very good cover letters, so this is a very effective way to differentiate yourself from other people applying for the same job if you put a really good effort into making a good cover letter. So let's talk about content for your cover letter. One of my favorite pieces of content is called the why story. Think of the question, why do you want this job, from an interview setting? This is essentially the question you have to answer on your cover letter. Many people ask, well, why do you want to become a nurse in healthcare? I want to help people. This is a very cliche and standard response. Of course you want to help people, but that doesn't tell us why it has to be in healthcare. You can help people anywhere. For this, I take a page from one of my favorite TEDsters, Simon Sinek. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe, Simon Sinek. And the same is true here. So a good question to think about is, what was your origin story? Why do you care about this career and this particular job? Here's a real story of a person in healthcare. When I was 12, I was in the hospital emergency reacting from a bee sting. I saw paramedics come in with patients and relay tons of information about their situation to the triage nurse. I admired their ability to quickly problem solve their condition. From then on, it was my mission to help people when they needed it most by working in and around the hospital emergency department. This story really illustrates passion, and it really shows that the person is inspired about the career that they are going for. Each of us have our unique passions. We're not all passionate about the same thing. And it's your passions that can really separate you from the competition, especially in a recruitment process. So you want to try and capture this on your cover letter if you can. I was once working with a lady who had come to us. She had done some work with general labor and cleaning, house cleaning, and she was looking for work. So I asked her, what would you be willing to do? And she said, anything. A standard question that many career counselors ask when they get the "I'll do anything" response is, would you be willing to shovel horse poop on the midnight shift in the dead of winter? We ask this question because we know not many people would say yes to this. In fact, almost all people say no. But for this particular client, she was excited, almost just ecstatic with the prospect of working with horses. What I found out very shortly is that her dream job was to run away with Cirque du Soleil and take care of the horses. Now, not everyone is passionate about horses, so this kind of job would not necessarily be a match. But the passion that this particular woman had for horses is something that was completely unique to her. And even 5 years later, I still remember her and this story. So it's always good to capture passion, if you can, on your cover letter. And we're going to talk a little bit about some questions and go into the why story in just a minute or two, where we can talk about passions and putting that on your cover letter. People remember stories. So it's a really good idea to have a story on your cover letter. This way you'll be memorable through the recruitment process. Here are some good questions to ask yourself that might lead you to what would be a good story for you to have on your cover letter. What inspired you to pick this as a career option? What was the moment you knew this career was for you? What problem does your desired job address? How has this job impacted you personally? What is it about this position that utilizes your natural strengths? Does this position allow you to contribute to something greater than yourself? What specifically do you love about this company or this position? What experience have you had with this company or industry in the past? What part of this job would you do for free? Of course, if money was no obstacle. Generally, when we are writing our story, we want to go over 3 particular points. We want to describe the situation so that the reader gets it. We want to talk about how it impacted us. And then you want to put in a call to action that you responded to. So, example, here is an ice cream store cover letter example. While I was growing up, I used to play in the community soccer tournament. Afterwards, we would go to the local ice cream store to celebrate our refreshing defeat. The clerk would make my ice cream just the way I liked it. We would sit as a team and enjoy each moment as we talked about the day's highlights and blooper reels and how we were going to do better next year. I'm interested in working as an ice cream clerk because of its support for the community. If I was the manager of an ice cream store and I read this in a cover letter, this guy would be guaranteed an interview because I know he gets the business. May I introduce the 4-paragraph model? Now, of course, you want to start off with a letterhead to your cover letter. And ideally, you want to use the exact same letterhead as your contact information from your resume. And then you go over who you're addressing your letter to. And then paragraph 1 starts off with the context of your application, the job you're applying for, where you found it, and when you found it. Paragraph 2 is your why story, which we've already discussed in depth. Paragraph 3 is basically a connection between your why story and your resume or the job in which you're applying for. So you want to talk here about what you've done in response to your why story. What have you done with this passion that you have? You want to talk about how this job has impacted you personally. This is where you really connect both your story and your resume. Paragraph 4, you're asking for the interview, but it's more than that. You want to set a tone for the interview. Include the topics that you wish to discuss at the interview. So the job is one of them, but you also want to talk about things like targets, interesting areas of the job, things you're passionate about the job. Then you want to finish your cover letter by thanking them for taking time to review the application. Here is my contact information. And then you end with sincerely, or if you didn't already thank them in the previous paragraph, right? Thank you for your consideration, and then your name. Here is 2 why story cover letters. One is a person applying for a retail sales associate position. The other is a person applying for admissions. We'll start with the retail sales associate position. They start off by addressing the cover letter to a particular person, Mr. Just in Time. Please accept this application for the resume sales associate position as advertised on retailjobs.com on date. When I was shopping at a technology store, so here he goes into a story. When I was shopping at a technology store, I saw a customer ask a sales rep about a display TV that was on sale. The sales rep said that the item was out of stock. The customer walked away. The very next customer asked if the floor model was for sale. That customer then bought it. I always wondered if the first customer would have been happy with the floor model if they had just asked. When I got into sales, I decided to make sure that all my customers had all the options as well as the best solutions for their needs. Next paragraph is the call to action. The training I got to be a certified retail sales associate has prepared me in all aspects of retail sales, which includes various sales pitches, upselling, consultative sales, cross-merchandising. Additionally, I am excited by this position as computers are a passion of mine, and I already have some product knowledge of the various brands. So in this paragraph, he's told you that he has training. He's told you that he knows how to sell. He's also gone on to explain that he has product knowledge, which is a component of sales. Now, his paragraph 4, I'm looking forward to connecting with you about the retail sales position and discussing the newest technology for customers. So it's not even a conversation just about the job, but he's now linking in a conversation about the product knowledge, which makes for a dynamic interview. Thank you for taking time to review this application. I can be reached at blah, 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 blah. Sincerely, Empty Shelves. Great name. The second cover letter is for admissions. And they start off again by addressing the manager directly. Dear Miss Serenade, please accept this application for the admissions position as advertised on exhibit.jobs.org as of the date. While I was a guest of the exhibition, so they're going in and now talking about when they were a customer at this particular attraction. While I was a guest of the exhibition, I was boarding a tram to go from one end of the compound to the other. During the trip, the tour guide began to sing over the radio and only stopped at points to talk about fun facts about the exhibition or attractions that we should check out. What was immediately apparent to me was this person loved their job and that their guest experience was very important to them. Now that I am looking for my first job, I hope to work for the exhibition and deliver the same passion for my role. Next paragraph. During my time at high school, I volunteered in order to gain community hours at several fundraisers for different charities. So I have some customer service experience working with the public, which I hope to expand upon while working in admissions. Looking forward to meeting with you in person to discuss the position and how I can make a meaningful experience for guests this year. Again, this person's cover letter is all about that guest experience, going the extra mile. If a person in admissions read this cover letter, they would probably get an interview because they understand that guest experience is the main part of the business. Next is the statement cover letter model. Starts off with, again, the same first paragraph as the previous model, which is the context of the job. So what you're applying for, where and when you found it. Then you go into a personal mission statement in 25 words or less. And the format you want to use is to what you're looking to achieve, by how you wish to accomplish it, or so that, and the effect you wish to have. Now, a good variation on this, and actually this is the original variation that we found in a job posting, which is describe in 25 words or less why you are a good fit for this role. When I was working with a client on this, we had to really get down and condense into one punchy 25-word statement. Then the rest of the cover letter naturally became all the ideas that we couldn't fit in. So paragraph 2 becomes a deeper explanation on why does this statement matter. Paragraph 3 connects the statement to your resume. So what is it in your resume that is evidence that you care about this mission? Paragraph 4, again, is, like in previous slides, is asking for the interview and including what you hope to discuss during the interview. Here is a mission statement cover letter. It starts off by saying, Please accept this application for the graphic design position as advertised, where they found it, when they found it. Then they go into their mission statement, which is highlighted in bold, so it's much more obvious to see. My goal is to help organizations showcase the best parts of their business so that customers will remember them and see them as first class. The next paragraph is going into why that matters. A number of years back, I read an article about why businesses and products fail. The article was about a car company that sold a car called Nova. The article goes on to explain that Nova in Spanish means no go. Many potential customers didn't buy the product for that reason. Since working in graphic design, I have learned that relating to customers is vital for success of the business. Now they go into linking their resume and what they do with the article. In everything I do as a graphic designer, I always consider usability of the product and the needs of the customer first, even down to the colors of graphics. These considerations have resulted in improved brand recognition for clients that I have worked with over the past 5 years. The area of expertise relevant to the duties and qualifications I can offer include, then they go into 3 bullet points that talk about various things from the job posting. Then they end with the 4th paragraph. Looking forward to discussing the position, the company branding, and upcoming projects and how we can best utilize the creative process to be relevant to our customers. That last statement, again, is very reflective of the mission statement. Thank you for taking the time to review this application. Then they go on talking about contact information and leave a link to an online website, which is their online portfolio. Sincerely, and then they say their name. When customizing your cover letter, you want to take advantage of information that's in the job posting. If the hiring manager's name is on the job posting, use it. If they've included where the location is you're going to work, then you want to address it to the company, the address, city postal code. These are very small and minor things that really show you care, that you're not just blasting out application after application. It's okay to address the cover letter to the hiring committee or hiring manager, but only if you really don't know who the hiring manager is. So it's better than saying to whom it may concern. In the past, when I've followed up with employers about why a particular candidate didn't get a job, most of the time it's because the candidate that did get the position had a skill that the employer didn't know they needed at the time. So it's always a good exercise before applying to think about the job posting and ask yourself the question, is there an asset for this job that seems to be missing from the posting? Maybe it's a knowledge area or tool or something that's going on in the market that is new that they just haven't had time to communicate to HR. These are all good things that you can incorporate into your cover letter that really make you stand out as a candidate. An example of this might be the global pandemic. You might take an opportunity to mention some of the things that you know about PPE or processes or procedures, or even how your industry has been reacting to the pandemic and what's your current plans going forward in how you might support this employer during that transition. The editing stage. It's always a good idea to have another person review your resume and cover letter, because if you've been looking at your resume and your cover letter, it may seem perfect. You might not see mistakes as easily. After all, you've been working on it for a great period of time. When editing, you want to look for a few things. Number one, run-on sentences. Since we've talked a lot about why cover letters, there's more passion to those types of cover letters, and sometimes passion can lead to run-on sentences. So that's always one to really look out for, particularly in why story cover letters. 2 would be spelling mistakes, and I'm going to include wrong words in that, simply because spell check doesn't always flag words that are wrong. It will tell you if a word is misspelt, but it can't tell you if it's the right word. Grammar errors. Grammar now becomes more important in the cover letter than it does the resume, as the resume is more bullet points. Punctuation, you want to check for that, as well as capitals. A writer once told me that a good piece of literature was one that expressed all the points that it meant to convey using the fewest number of words. So what I always recommend people do is, after they've written their cover letter, think about each paragraph and maybe even each sentence and think, is there a way that I can say this in a much more condensed and straightforward way so that it has fewer words? Again, going back to the statement cover letter, that was one of the processes we used. And finally, cover letter tips. Cover letters and resumes should be the same document because you have fewer things to upload into applicant tracking systems. It's much easier for the recruiter on the other end. Overall, it's just a better process. Consistent contact information format from your resume to your cover letter. Basically, you want recruiters to be able to look and identify it as being the same document. You don't want it to be disjointed. You want to use 11 to 12 point text and a plain font, just because it's easier for the recruiter to read. Keep your font and text sizes the same in both cover letter and resume. So if you use 11 point in one, you want to be consistent with the 11 point in the next one as well. Never use odd ways of ending your cover letter. Cheers, high fives, these are really inappropriate for formal writing. Never use dated forms of address, sir, madam, for example. You never want to write to whom it may concern on a cover letter, because you're communicating that you just don't care about who it goes to. At the very least, if you write, "Dear hiring manager" or "Dear hiring committee," you're at least taking the time to recognize at least the title of the person you're applying for, or the group of people who you're applying to. A trend in recent years has been to take all the main points from your resume and regurgitate them into your cover letter as a way to show employer this is what you should be looking for in your resume. The problem that I have with this is that you're now using two documents to say the same thing. If your resume is not clear enough that an employer can't find the relevant qualifications within it, you need to have a better resume. You shouldn't be using your cover letter to compensate for issues with your resume. Your cover letter is a great opportunity to breathe life into your resume. So you want to talk more about your story, your motives into why you want the position. Always submit a cover letter with your resume. Earlier I said some recruiters will skip over applications that don't have cover letters. Again, this can be a very careless way to get eliminated if you don't include your cover letter. So in summary, we talked about why cover letters are important. We spoke about the why story, how you can draft your story. We talked about the two cover letter models, specifically the why model and the statement model. We've gone over some examples of cover letters. We talked about how you can customize your cover letter. We also talked about editing as well as general tips for your cover letter. Thank you for taking the time to watch this cover letter workshop. If you haven't already, please check out our resume workshop. If you enjoyed the content today, please feel free to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Shout out to Works4You Employment, who has taken the time to host these webinars and do all the production work behind them. My name is Jesse Preston. Thank you and have a great day.